To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my fave parapeeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry Live 2.0. I'm your host, Shawn Whittington. I am a seminarian in the United States Old Catholic Church, soon to be a deacon. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So, what do I want to say to you guys today, other than I love you all? Thank you all for taking an hour out of your busy Friday afternoons to hang out with us. This is the story. You know, this is why a lot of people uh, uh, probably don't do this. It's like when you do these live shows, it's almost like there's some power out there that doesn't want, certain people to get together. I have looked so forward to meeting Camille James Harman today, and they are Zach and her and even Camille's husband are working feverishly to try and get Camille's camera to work behind the scenes here so that we can pull her on. So as soon as we're able to do that, we will. Until then, you guys got me. So I'm going to go through my normal spiel here at the beginning, but then this may turn into just a me and you guys. I haven't just sat down and let the audience hammer me with questions in a long time, but I do have a lot of things. I mean, I even have a lot of questions here that have just recently come in from a lot of people out there. And most of the time, I'm up all night long getting back to people with them. But I may take advantage of that today and address a lot of these questions here live on air during the show. But listen, I'm coming to you live.
Hey, before you go on, we have a brother in the paranormal world that is having a pretty serious surgery today, named Scott from the Things family, and just want to give him a shout out and wish him the best of luck. I'm
I
gonna
know. Do I know Scott?
I think you might, but I know he was at our house just a couple weeks ago for the investigation that they all did down south and in the Colorado Springs area. So Scott's been a part of things for quite a while. Scott and Jeremy are best of friends. So
Very, very cool. Well, I will say a prayer and light a candle for Scott. Do you know what the surgery's for? Or is that kind of private?
to be honest with you, I don't know enough to be dangerous there. Well, I know quite a bit enough to be dangerous, but I don't know enough about the surgery to know exactly what it is. All I know is that he's having a surgery that people are kind of crossing their fingers on. So I just wanted to say, Scott, my thoughts are with you, and just want to put that out here so everybody can do what they do to support him mentally, physically, and spiritually.
And you too. I mean, it's that time of year, brother. Sharon's getting ready to possibly have some oral surgery, and you're getting ready to have surgery on your shoulder. It's that time of year, man. I'm gonna light a candle for all you guys and pray for all you guys. But I really want to know how you are gonna hold up during your procedure because we may need to. You know me, brother. We'll take some time off from the show if you need to recoup and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest with you, Sean, they're just gonna go in and they're gonna stick something in my shoulder, clean it up, and take and basically staple it to the bone, staple the muscle to the bone. It's just I've got. I'm more concerned about the Wednesday thing that I got coming up this next Wednesday. That's when they go in and they take and they burn the nerve endings in my neck, and that's not a comfortable thing. My hand feels like it weighs 300 pounds when they do that. So when like your arm falls asleep and your fingers are numb, imagine that like tenfold. I've got that coming up this next Wednesday, so I'm really not looking forward to that. But yeah. um yeah, the neck surgery, I don't see that as going to be anything that I'm going to worry too much about. So it's not like I work too hard here.
You
So
work harder than you think. I'll keep you in my prayers, brother, but keep me posted on all of that sort of stuff.
Hello, Jennifer. All right, well, button monkey out, and we're this is not looking good for you, Sean. We're missing a guest, so I
It's
don't.
okay. I will get her back. It's in the cards that Camille and I are going to meet and talk about. I mean, she's such a I mean, her resume and body of work, just in terms of being an extremely passionate, gifted, talented actress, is when I was reading her bio, I was like, I went to her websites and stuff, and it was a very impressive body of work. So we're gonna, when we do get her on, if it's today, great. If it's I bring her back, we will talk about her acting career. She's got a movie coming up that I'm very interested in, where she plays Elisheba, which is Aaron's wife. Elisheba's mentioned once, maybe twice in the Bible. We don't know nothing about her other than the fact that she was married to Aaron, who was the brother of Moses. She gave birth to four sons who went on to be great high priests. And I believe even now today, I could be wrong. I believe now today there's a bloodline of priests, high priests back in the old country, wherever that is for them, that are direct descendants from her bloodline, and that's the only way they can be legally and legitimately considered these high priests in this particular order, to be from her bloodline. She's considered the mother of all these priests in this order. So pretty impressive movie. I think it's called The New Manna, and she plays Elisheba. So I want to pick her brain on how you prepare.
Aha! We have success. So she has appeared. So you do your spiel, and we're going to get her on. So,
Very,
but
very
we
cool.
have success.
I'll do my spiel real quick, and then we'll get back. We'll get her on here. That's thank you, Jesus. He knows that I wanted to talk to her really bad today. So anyway, we got her. She'll be on in just a moment. I'm coming to you live from my haunted home, my very haunted home, and it's been quiet today. Dreamcatcher isn't spinning. Well, there we go. Now it's starting to move a little bit, but it has been quiet as of late, which is a good thing. It might pick up once I get her on here and we start talking about some of the paranormal issues that she's dealt with in her life. Um, Let me check the prayer urn here real quick. Pam D from Arizona. Hi, Pam. Trust me, I'm not crazy. I got a sign on my car that tells people you're not crazy. I truly believe there is a malevolent presence in this old fix 'em upper house that I bought and plan to flip. Can you please say a deliverance prayer while I crank the volume up? I will be watching today. Okay. Um, yeah. And I'm feeling that too from even where I'm at. Okay, Pam, you ready? Get your volume up. Anybody out there watching and listening that is in the same situation as Pam, just crank the volume up on your computer screen right now. In the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord Jesus Christ, in thy name I ask thee to bind and silence all powers and forces that do not accept thee as Lord and King, in the air, in the water, in the ground, the netherworld, and nature, and the spiritual world. I ask thee to bind all demonic action and demonic communication. Lord, seal this whole place, all of us here, and all our intentions in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. Mary, we ask thee to surround us with thy mantle of protection and crush Satan's power in our lives. St. Michael the Archangel, we ask you and all our guardian angels to defend us in battle against Satan and the powers of darkness. Amen. Pam, keep me posted on how things are going. Send me a message later, and we'll talk about your home. Okay, let's check the mailbag. I got so many questions up on my desk here. They didn't make it to the mailbag. Some did. Yeah, I got some in here. Let's pull one out of the mailbag. Dennis M. from Florida. Okay, other side of the country. I recently went on a haunted ghost tour. I feel something attached to me. Not evil, just a spirit. It is coming to me in my dreams. How can I find out what it wants or if it has a message for me? That is a wonderful question. Dennis, You're not. I get that questions like that all the time. It happens to a lot of ghost hunters nowadays that don't really know what they're doing, and it also happens to a lot of people. Believe it or not, they go on these haunted tours, these ghost walks. It is what it is. Um, I'm probably going to get some hate mail for this. Maybe this isn't the best advice, but this is what I'm going to tell you. Unless you're psychic, you're not going to get a message from the spirit or know what they want or be able to help them. I would recommend that you go out into the paranormal community in your area, find a reputable, truly gifted psychic medium that you can bring into your home. They could try and communicate with the spirit, find out what it wants or what it may need help with, and then you need to take authority over the situation and let the spirit know after you've made an attempt to help it that it needs to go. It doesn't belong in this time. It's of the ages. It needs to go where it belongs and to quit bothering you and hanging around. And that's the best advice I can give you. And I'm also going to throw out the same invitation to you, Dennis, as I'm throwing out to Pam. Please keep me posted on your progress because I always find it very interesting when Spirit makes a concerted effort to try and communicate with us. There's usually a real major reason why, and when we help Spirit, I find that amazing. So keep me posted on that. If there's anything you want to find out about my wife and I and our ministry work, go to our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. If you go there to visit, keep in mind my wife and I don't charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So trust me, brothers and sisters, I know times are tough. But if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click on it and send my ministry in a small donation. I promise you, it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts. And trust me, we'll put it to good use. If you're having issues of a spiritual nature, not attached to the paranormal, and you'd like to speak to me, I'm also a certified intuitive coach, spiritual advisor, listener. I'm a great listener. I have one motto: you talk, I listen, no judgment. You can make an appointment with me on the website to speak with me about spiritual issues, but don't leave the website without navigating over to the page called Introduction to Spiritual Warfare Course/books. On that page, you will find both my books, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry, and God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry 2. If you haven't done your good deed for the day yet, part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my books goes to support stjude.org, St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada, and the ASPCA. How cool is that? You get to help some of the neediest children on the planet and the animals too. Um, you can get the book a little less expensive at Amazon, but if you buy it off of the website, it leaves my office from here. I autograph it for you, and it comes to you in a beautiful house blessing kit, which is also very cool. And I get tons of messages on how do I work the stuff in the house blessing kit. I'm going to do a complete show on that one day. Um, but yeah, that's there's a lot of stuff in the kit that I send out to help you bless and cleanse your property and your home, and that's a beautiful thing. So that's it. What else do I want to tell you guys? My course. Scroll a little bit further down past the books, you'll see Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course. I offer a 12-week online college level course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. And this is a course for all you true warriors for Christ out there that want to have more knowledge when it comes to drawing your line in the sand, making a stand, circling the wagons, and putting up a good fight. Perhaps maybe even the fight of your life against, God forbid, true evil if it ever comes calling. That's the course for you. You can enroll in the course at the website, or you can go to the Shawn Whittington's Introduction to Spiritual Warfare course Facebook page and read more about it before making that type of commitment. All my students that graduate get a stunning diploma, certificate of completion suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed items and gifts that you can only get from yours truly. So you can enroll in the course there at the website. And most importantly, please keep all of my former, current, and future students in your prayers. Okay, the moment of truth, the reason why you guys all tuned in. I'm excited to meet her. Um, She seems like such a cool person. She is a world renowned, critically acclaimed, passionate, talented, gifted actress living in Los Angeles via New Orleans. And she's also an elite ufologist. I'm going to call her that. She's a UFO experiencer, used to write for UFO Magazine, and this is going to be a fun show. So, brothers and sisters, please, without further ado, give a big, warm Paranormal Ministry family welcome to the one and only CAMILLE James Harman.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
I am a little flustered, Reverend Shawn. I'm sorry, but here I
That's
am.
okay.
And thank you for
You
that illustrious intro. I'll try
you're
to live
the
up to
only
it.
Camille I've ever met. I think that name is so pretty. You look very pretty
Oh,
today, and
thank
I
you.
knew we would get you on as soon as you got your husband in to give you a hand. Two heads working on a problem are better than one. I know Zach was there taking care of you. I knew it would happen.
Well, I'm,
I'll tell you this: when we
yeah.
were in the green room, and all of a sudden your camera went off again, I was like going, "No, no, 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 no!" So I'm glad
It's
that it got fixed. I'm really glad it got fixed.
I just tried to do it with my laptop and I couldn't. So I just went to my phone and it worked fine. So
Oh
whatever.
wow.
Who knows?
Okay.
So
Well,
here I
I'm
am on
so
the phone.
glad you're here. Thank you so much for taking an hour out of your busy day to hang out with us. Listen, I know the show's mainly a paranormal show, but I I have I went to your websites and I looked at your bios. You had a couple of them that you sent me one, and then I saw what your websites had said about you. And I'm really in awe of your body of work as an actress. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We have to before we get
Yeah.
into the UFO stuff. And anything you want to talk about as far as that goes, it's your show. But I have to mention you winning the 3 international Best Actress awards for Tiger Lily. That's huge. Um,
Oh,
so talk to us about that project, winning that award, and how we can see Tiger Lily because I haven't seen it.
oh my. Well, Tiger Lily is a short film. It was made by my dear friend Katie Rausch, who lives in Finland, but she was living in LA at the time. And she wrote this role for me. So, and herself. So it was a very small budget little short that we did downtown. And she entered it into lots of festivals. And it was during COVID, the festivals, right? So um, they were virtual, most of them. Some of them were, I guess, were in person, but a lot of them were virtual film festivals. And we won all these awards for this film. And it's just a little funny short about dealing with someone who is tricking you. And so I'm the straight man and she's the comedian in the setup. And it's about how I kind of lose it. And so it was really fun. I play a hotel concierge dealing with a person checking in who's kind of crazy. So it was fun.
I bet, and I, I'm not on your level in terms of that type of you know eyes on you all the time when you are doing these types of projects. But I know how it feels to be so passionate about something and finally be recognized for your efforts. And so that must have been phenomenal to get those awards. So I
Well,
applaud
it
you.
has been great. I did I had a kind of a career peak a few years ago when I was in the movie Vice, which was a big awards winning film directed by Adam McKay and starring Christian Bale and Steve Carell and me. No, I had a very small part in it, but it was an Oscar winning film. It won for best hair and makeup and it won a lot of other awards. I think it was nominated for 8 or 10 Oscars, but it won BAFTA and SAG awards and Golden Globe awards and tons of awards. So that was really fun because I did do a lot of media around that time. And then when COVID hit and everything got ruined in Hollywood, it was just awful for a while. And then the vax mandates kicked in. And so I was working even when Hollywood reopened, but then I wouldn't take the shot. And so then my career was thwarted by that. So I've been doing little things here and there over the past couple of years. But I just recently decided to get back into the UFO world because I had dropped out for a while. And so that's been a very interesting development in the last year.
Well, I promise you, what this next question is not going to seem like it, but it is going to lead into the UFO, and you'll see it when we get there. What's up, brother?
Yeah, I just wanted to make mention that I loved Vice. I thought it was a great
Oh,
picture. I thought it was very educational, and me being this, history freak that I
mhm.
am, I really thought that was a great movie. And seeing Steve Carell in something where he's not, that joking guy, I thought was very, very fascinating. So I wanted to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. And it was interesting because I played Mary Madeline, who was the counselor to the vice president and the president, actually. And so I just had a couple little scenes, couple of lines. But, the reason she's in the movie is because she was with Dick Cheney. Christian Bale plays Dick Cheney. And she was with him on 9/11 when that happened. And he had to run things from the White House. So
Wow.
anyway, I wrote the real Mary Madeline, who lives in New Orleans, or who did at the time. And she wrote me back, and I got a letter from her the day after the Oscars, which was really cool.
That is so cool. I you probably knew this was coming. I read this piece that you're working on that's in production, at least on the website it said in production, called The New Manna.
Oh yeah.
And then I see some pictures, some production photos from from the movie. And right away, I'm in the seminary. So, uh, Elisheba, all we know about her is married to Aaron, who was the brother of Moses, and she gave birth to 4 sons who went on to be great high priests. And earlier, as you probably heard when you were in the green room, we know that there's this very prestigious order of priests that are direct descendants, bloodline descendants of hers, and which I find very cool to this day. And she's considered the mother of that whole priest line. But she's mentioned maybe twice. No one knows anything about her. This movie looks fabulous. You got to tell me where we're at with production, when it might come out, how I can see it, and you also need to let me know, how do you prepare for a role like that when this is a bigger than life figure from history, biblical
Mhm.
history, that we know very little about? How do you do that?
Well, for this particular role, like you said, he was creating a scene about Passover, and primarily, but what the whole point of this film project is, it's a documentary reenactment that tells the story of the New Testament being, you know, prophesied in the Old Testament in many, many different ways. And so all of these ways that the Eucharist is foretold in the Old Testament is what the filmmaker is trying to show. So to compare it to manna from heaven, and now we have the Eucharist, right? So he goes back into the Old Testament to tell these different stories. And I have not seen other scenes from it, but I know there are some social media sites about the film, and it had two names. Like one name was oh my gosh, it has two names if you go on my IMDb, Eucharistic Miracles. But then there was another film with that name, so then they picked a new name, The New Manna, and so I think that's the most recent name. I haven't talked to the director in a while, but it's still in post production, and it's expensive to finish a film, so there are he is definitely looking for people to invest in this film. If you want to um, find him through social media, through the name of the film, or through IMDb. And I can't wait till it's completed either, because he really poured his heart and soul and finances into the film.
Yeah, the pictures I saw look incredible. Now let's talk about how about, brother?
Is the Hollywood kerfuffle that's going on, is that also be part of the delay on the film? Is that causing any problems for the release of the film?
I don't think that relates to this film, because the film has already been written and shot. So it's in
Okay.
post production, right? So I think it's just financial right now. And yeah, the current strikes are awful and dragging on forever. It's a real drama. But I do think it might be Hollywood's red pill moment, to be honest. I think there's a lesson being learned by Hollywood, kind of being learned the hard way, that, there are forces in the world that want to make humanity irrelevant.
Yeah.
with artificial intelligence and enslavement of all kinds of forms. And so, you know, they need to wake up too to the fact that there is a, you know, global elite who has very little use for us in some ways. And so it's interesting. It's like a microcosm of a larger battle.
Shawn was just talking about your film coming up. Is that where these two pictures were taken? The ones where you're out in the desert?
Oh, no. That's a whole other thing. The reason I sent those relates to my UFO story.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I will then. Hey, everybody, shut your eyes. You don't see these yet.
Now that I think about that, I'm embarrassed because I should have asked you to send me one of the pictures from the new Manna, because I knew I was going to talk to you about it, and I saw
I
it,
could have.
and I didn't. That's my bad. Anyway, it's funny you talk about Hollywood. Like I said, Hollywood was beat up during COVID, and then they just start to come out of it, and now we have the strikes.
I know.
So that's brutal. It'll get worked out. Yeah, the whole AI thing's crazy. Just that whole thing is crazy. But you mentioned slavery, and I'll tell you what jumped out at me. And this is so off topic, maybe not. I know you're also passionate about human trafficking, the prevention of that. And I remember real quick. Did you ever met? I probably shouldn't mention their names, but I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. I haven't talked to them in years, but I don't know if you know a gentleman by the name of Logan Clark or Donia Davis. He was back in the day a pretty well-known producer, director, writer. He had a show that was very popular at the time called Heart to Heart.
Okay.
And it was either Heart to Heart, or there was another one where there's two brothers who were private investigators. Gerald McRaney was one of the brothers, and I forget who the other guy was. It might have been that show, and I don't know if that was called Heart to Heart. I'm just thinking of Heart to Heart. But I was a street dancer at the time, and his wife was a choreographer, and she discovered me in a dance club, hired me to be in this movie called Body Rock. Well, then he approached me later, under the scenes, behind the scenes, he had a private investigative company where he would send people like me, young kids who were on the street a lot, down into these areas, because a lot of the rich and famous in Hollywood who had runaway children who were all strung out on drugs, who they suspected were down on the streets of Hollywood, they would send other kids down there to search for them, because if anybody else really couldn't get down there and mingle around in that world. And so I did that for a little while, and I even helped bring a couple of those kids home. But then talk about your passion about that project, if you would like to, because that's very important.
Well, I just think that people don't understand the giant scope of human trafficking in the world right now. And a lot of people tend to focus on, reparations for slavery in the past. And I mean, I understand why they're bringing that up, but I also say, why are you ignoring the slavery happening right now? Like in all countries all over the world, the huge amount of money being made by child trafficking and human trafficking for organ harvesting, ritual abuse, sex trafficking. I mean, it's all going on. And I think I was so passionate about it too, because I went to church where the creators of Sound of Freedom were going to church. And so I met them early on in the process of making that film. And I was cheering that film on for all these years, waiting and waiting for it to be released. So when it came out and did so well, I was so happy and relieved. In the meantime, I was contributing to Tim Ballard's organization, Operation Underground Railroad, and just becoming more aware of it. So yeah, that's really where it started for me.
Yeah, that's an awful thing, and it's like yeah, I'm really glad. I haven't seen that movie yet. No, I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about it. I've got to see that movie. So yeah, that thing is very, very ugly, and it's just so out of control right now. I pray every day that we get a hold of that. So here's my segue into the UFO. I interviewed and it has a little bit to do with your role in the new Manna. I interviewed an abductee in Canada once, and he says to me, the first thing the aliens asked him was, have you met God yet? So I found that very interesting. And I'm this one guy, I don't know what I believe. I wouldn't be surprised if these are all really angelic beings from biblical times that are flying around. I wouldn't be surprised if it's advanced versions of us that have been here all along. They just know that we're like cave people and they don't want to scare us, but they're here. Or other extraterrestrial life. The Vatican now is teaching some priests how to handle first contact. So I know that this is, like I said, this is your show. So I'm going to shut up now, and I would start wherever you want to start. I find it
Well,
amazing that you even left New Orleans and went to LA, because I want to go back, and I had some experiences in New Orleans. I love that city. But talk about that. Talk about your first experience, and then we can get into the abduction stuff. And then you sent me some pictures, which when we get to the pictures, then Zach can just pull them up one at a time, and you can
okay.
explain what they're
Yeah.
about. But I'm going to shut up now and let you talk.
No, because what you brought up is the most important thing, which is what are these things and how do we discern what they are? And I wrote for UFO Magazine for 5 years, from 2000 till 2004. I wrote for UFO Magazine, and I covered all the UFO meetings here in LA for MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, which I belong to. And so we would bring in a different speaker every month to present information to us. And then I would do the follow-up article for UFO Magazine about that presentation. So I got to meet some of the really big names in ufology back then. And a lot of people that are no longer with us, like Bud Hopkins and John Mack, and just so many people, Stan Friedman, Roger Lear, Dr. Roger Lear, all of them were at these meetings all the time, speaking to us. So I come from this kind of late 90s introduction to the UFO world because I had abduction experiences in 1995 and 6 is when it all started for me. I do suspect it happened as early as childhood because I have a lot of the signs of childhood abduction as well. But I came aware of it in 1995 when I was like 29 years old. So, I kind of want to blaze through my experiences, and it's not because they're not interesting. It's just I talk about them in a lot of other podcasts. And I think what's most interesting with someone like you is kind of skipping ahead to the spiritual nature of what this might be. That's the more interesting conversation. But, to tell my story in a quick version of the actual abductions, I had in December 95, after moving to Los Angeles with my boyfriend, we had a UFO sighting while walking the dog in daytime. We saw a triangular craft with a kind of a shimmer around it. It was black, but then it had a kind of a plasma field around it. So the edges were a little bit hard to make out because it was so high. But I got all excited because I had just been reading one of Whitley Strieber's books about UFOs and aliens. And that was kind of my first introduction to the subject in the summer of 1995. And then we get to LA and I have this sighting in December, my first sighting ever. And so I was so excited and I went home and reported it. And they told me about these meetings. Now, meanwhile, I'd had no menstrual cycle for like 3 months since moving to LA. And I was wondering why. I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm pregnant. And usually before, if I had ever thought I might be pregnant, I would just go get a test at Walgreens or whatever and find out and be done with it. But for some reason, I didn't do that. And I just waited and waited and waited. And then also in December at this time, I had this experience that they call sleep paralysis, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And I'd had it before in my life, but I had it twice in one night. This was right around the time of that sighting. And I wasn't keeping a journal or anything. I wish I were, because now I look back and I'm like, oh, I wish I had all the nitty gritty here. But I woke up paralyzed in my bed and I couldn't move. And I heard this voice call my name, and it sounded like an electronic synthesized voice. And all it said was Camille, like a robot, like Camille, like that. And it really frightened me because even though I'd had sleep paralysis before, I'd never heard a voice. And I had a vision too. I had like this vision of a gun pointed at my face, which was very disturbing. I mean, anyone would say that, right? Like if you woke up frozen in your bed and you couldn't move and you had all that going on. So I was like, oh my God, what is happening? And at the time I was not Christian. I was born Christian and baptized and went to Catholic school, but I wasn't a practicing Christian. I was very new age at the time. And I just freaked out. So I ended up getting hypnotically regressed, and I had this full-on alien abduction memory of that night. That's what I targeted. And I had this memory of having a hybrid fetus removed from me, which is very, very common in alien abduction experience. So it was life-changing. I mean, my whole life just went into a whole other direction because I became obsessed with figuring this out. And then I had more experiences over the next year, 1996. I had another experience where I had a triangle put on my leg by the aliens. I woke up with this after 3 mornings in a row at 4 a.m. sharp, looking at my clock saying 400. I'm going, why am I awake? I didn't hear a noise. What is going on? And then I looked down and I had this bleeding, like not bleeding, like freshly scabbed triangular puncture array on my leg. And I've met so many people who've had that triangle of the puncture wounds on their body on different parts. So, it continued. I later, as a religious person, you will be interested in this. So there's this thing about aliens coming very often at 3 a.m, right? The devil's hour, right? And I remember telling my story about how at that time, I had this 4 o'clock in the morning thing happening. And I told it at a support group at a conference. And someone said, what time of year was that? And I said, July. And they said, oh, aliens don't do daylight savings. And I was like, oh my God. So if you take the daylight savings out of it, it would have been 3 a.m. that I was waking up 3 mornings, which is very interesting. So I also had an experience of my dentist finding an object in my tooth. And when I went in and had a regression for that, because he was freaked out, my dentist found this thing in my tooth. And I thought I'd get aliens when I got hypnotized. Like, I bet it's those darn aliens again, right? So I get hypnotized. And this time I have what's called a military abduction memory of a human abduction. And I was not in a misty room with aliens around me. I was in like a regular exam room, and I was rolled down a hall and put in a helicopter, and the ceiling opened up, and I was flown home and dropped in a field. Well, not dropped. They landed in a field and told me to go home and take a nap. So that was very disturbing. Now we're dealing with the possibility of a human, covert thing running alongside this alien thing, which many abductees experience, and they say there are
Totally
covert,
believable.
covert
Totally
ops,
believable.
trying to abduct the abductees and interrogate them about what's happening with the aliens, basically, or other things. So that happened. And then I had an experience under hypnosis where I had noticed I was feeling longing for beings, and I was saying things like, oh, humans, they're so blah blah blah. And I was thinking about that, and I asked my therapist, my hypnotherapist, Barbara Lamb, who's a famous abduction hypnotherapist. And I said, Barbara, I have these weird feelings that I'm missing some beings, but I don't remember who they were. Like, can we target that? And she said, yeah. And then I had this whole out of body experience that was pure ecstasy and oneness with these light beings. And I was a blue light and they were a white light. And we were like watching the earth, and they're telling me I have to go to earth to fight evil. And it was the most emotional, ecstatic union. So I mean, that's what's so mystifying about this experience, is that once you go down this rabbit hole and you meet other people that have had this experience, you will find everything I just described in spades amongst other abductees. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I just tried to make sense of it. I had this journalist brain, and I tried to write a book. I got to the end of my book and I was like, I don't know what this was. I don't know. I don't want to lead anyone astray. And I prayed, I said, God, I want to write my stupid book and finish it and move on with my life, but I don't want to lead anyone astray. Can you please show me what this was? And at that time, I was living in Arizona at the time. We had moved to Tucson. And I had been in communication with the Vatican Observatory there, by the way, Brother Guy Consolmago. He had written me because I asked him about all this. And I had a born again Jesus experience in Tucson, contemplating finishing my book. I had this prayer, and then I had these books come my way that were arguing that the aliens are demons theory. There are a lot of books like that by various, mostly evangelicals. And then a good author, Nigel Kerner, has an interesting book, Gray Aliens and the Harvesting of Souls. So anyway, I gave over to that idea, and I had all this weeping and contrition, and I had this whole change of opinion. And also, when I was in LA, I had gone to a lot of healers to make it stop, and it had stopped. I hadn't had anything happen. So I felt like in this really safe space, and I just started going to mass. I got confirmed. I started going to Latin mass, and I was in heaven for a while, and I was really at peace with that. And then we moved back to LA, and I recently just got involved in UFOs again, and I have a lot more information. I think I threw out the baby with the bathwater. I think it was okay at the time, but I don't think the answer is that simple, that they're all demons. So now I'm reevaluating. I've kind of got my journalist hat on again. And here I am. I'm in the fray. So that's it.
Well, here's my take on it. It's all true
Mm-hmm.
because the Bible's true, because these guys back in those days, they wouldn't have risked their lives for a hoax to continue to talk about Jesus, knowing that it almost meant certain death. It's like when I talk to you and I listen to you, I can't help but think of back in the day when everybody thought Shirley MacLaine was a whack job, and it affected her acting career a little bit. Not much, but a little bit, because here she was, you know, talking about things like this in addition to trying to be, taken serious as an actress. You wouldn't go through all of this if it didn't really happen to you. And it's like that's why I tell people it's a big weight off of my shoulders and a monkey off my back, and feels so therapeutic, spiritually and psychologically, to tell the stories of my encounters with the demonic, because um, you know it's true and it happened, and a power greater than you and I are channeling through us and telling us to get these stories out and to tell these things. So it is what it is. But has that affected your acting career at all?
I'm certain that it has. I mean, for one thing, when it first happened to me in the mid '90s, I just became so obsessed with it, and it really took over my life. My boyfriend and I ended up breaking up. I went to England to see the crop circles, and I had a fling. I was engaged to my boyfriend at the time. We'd been together 7 years, and I went to England to see the crop circles and had a fling with a guy there, and I came back and I said, I had a fling in England with a UFO guy, and I'm so sorry, and he said, oh, I'm so glad you had a fling. He said, I was hoping you would have a fling because I didn't want to go through with marrying, and I didn't want to be the bad guy because I love you. We're so not, really on the same page anymore. And so anyway, we're still friends, and it's all good. And I ended up marrying, I ended up dating someone else here and marrying him. And I'm still married now since 2001, we were married. So, but it did, I think that it enriched my acting ability because I was able to access these other states in hypnosis and open my mind. I think my whole attraction to being an actress had something subconsciously to do with tapping into something bigger than yourself and expanding yourself into multiple possibilities and time period. Like, if I'm not saying I'm full on a believer in reincarnation, although I did have past life memories, but then when I went Catholic, I was like, well, maybe that's a trick. And then my husband was all irritated with me, and I said, well, I don't know. He's like, you had past life memories. I'm like, I don't know, and so, but regardless of whether past lives are real or not, I just feel like acting was my way of dealing with other versions of me in other realities. Does that make sense?
It totally does. It totally does. Um, this is what we're gonna do. We've got about a little over 10 minutes before I have to say goodbye to you, and I knew that this hour wasn't going to
Sorry.
be long enough. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to beg you, after the show today, I'm going to send you some messages begging you to come back, throw
Okay.
some dates at you. But what we'll do now is I'll have Zach. Hopefully, we have enough time. Throw up these pictures one
Okay.
at a time, and then you can tell us what we're looking at, and give us like whatever you feel you need to share with us and say to us
Sure.
about the particular picture
Sure.
when they pop up. And there's some interesting ones. I love the ones about the marks, if I'm seeing those correctly. So
Mm-hmm.
whenever he wants to pop them up, do you got them, Zach?
Yeah, I got him. It's going to be just a second. The computer's moving a little bit slow, so.
All right. Well, I do want to mention that I do think you're right. I think we're dealing with angelic beings, demonic beings, actual aliens, whatever. I don't know how to differentiate, to be honest. And I think we're dealing with possible time travelers. So that's a whole
Absolutely.
other
All
interesting
all
area.
the above.
Yeah, I think so. So in this picture that you're looking at, I sent you maybe 2 pictures from White Sands. I went to White Sands in 1997 when my friend and I went to the Roswell conference there. And in this picture, I drew this big alien face in the sand, and I was yelling at the sky, "I dare you to come down here, you bastards!" I was screaming at him, and he was just taking pictures. And right where I'm looking, you can see above my head,
Yeah.
this little light anomaly appeared. And then there was another picture from the same series where I'm looking a different way and yelling at them, and there's a light anomaly. So it's just 2 examples of the invisible made visible through photography.
Well,
Absolutely.
Camille, just to let you know, I was trying to wipe off my computer screen to get that little blemish because I thought it was my computer screen. So on this picture, just a couple of minutes ago, I was sitting there trying to rub my computer monitor. It's like,
oh, how funny.
Oh no, did I get a blemish on my computer monitor? So I'd like to thank you for that picture.
Yeah.
I got one clean spot on my monitor now.
Very cool. Very cool. What do we got next?
That's the other one. See me looking another way, and there's a white thing in front of my face again. I don't know if you can see it on a tiny image, but
Yeah, I can see it. It jumps right out at you.
yeah.
That's interesting. Both of them are very interesting, especially that one too. I love the face you drew in the sand there. Okay, what do we got next? All right,
That's just a
crop
picture.
circle.
Yeah, that's me in a crop circle in England. And what's funny about this, I was wearing a Sting t-shirt. I was obsessed with Sting at the time too. And so Sting lives right where the crop circles happen in Wiltshire, England, right near Stonehenge. And I went to Sting's house because I was a total stalker back then. And I took pictures outside of his house and everything. And then Barbara Lamb picked me up in England because she's a crop circle expert. And she took me to my first crop circle, which had appeared overnight the night before. And it was subsequently nicknamed the Stingray. And it looked like a giant stingray. It had this big thing with like a long tail that curved at the end. And I thought, some people have these conscious connection with the crop circle makers. And I thought, I wonder if that was just a gift for me because it's my first one. And I came here to see Sting's house, and now I get a Stingray crop circle.
Oh, that's cool. That's so funny you bring up Sting. My wife, she for 20 years was a part-time special usher at the MGM Grand here, and she worked every one of his concerts, and she's the last person that he would see before he's allowed to go on stage to perform. So they got to know each other. She said he was the nicest person besides me that she ever met on the face of the earth. And I
Yeah.
always thought that was great. And I said, well, listen, if anything ever happens to me, honey, you've got my permission to go be with Sting.
Yeah, I met him a few times, and he was always very nice to me. I was glad because, you never know.
Who's that handsome man?
Oh, that is Alejandro Monteverde, the director of Sound of Freedom movie.
Oh, very cool. That's cool.
That was years ago at an event called Beacon. Beacon used to be at the Presbyterian Church in Bel Air, and they would host Hollywood-related talks for
See,
Christians.
again, here we have somebody very passionate about something, and those guys risked their lives to make that movie. That's crazy. That shows the the depth of the passion that someone has for something to be willing to make that type of sacrifice.
Oh, that's just me. That's just one of the
You are, just when you look at your face, you could play anything. You could be anything.
Well, that's my villain role. I play a lot of villains. I think it's because I don't know. I don't know why, but I have a little asymmetry to my face. And so it could be that. I have green eyes too, which, you know, they always go with green
You could
eyes.
play anything. That's what's great about your look. You could play anything.
I would almost give you, I'd like to give you a compliment here, and I for some reason her last name is escaping me, but Jessica, we lost her a couple of years ago, but she always played the kind of snarky grandmotherly lady. I know that she plays as Archer's mother. She was on I think it was Arrested Development or something like that. And but very similar look. Obviously you're much younger than she was, but she was in PCU and a couple other wonderful movies. But that's kind of the way that, you know, this look, that's immediately who I thought of.
Oh, thank
Now
you.
I'm going to have to look her up because it's driving me crazy.
Very cool. Yeah, you can play anything. That's what great. So now let's talk about your body here.
Oh, yeah. So that's the thing on my shoulder that appeared. I don't know what that was, but it was like a square grid pattern. And again, it's something I've seen on the bodies of other abductees and photos over the years. So I don't know. Mystery.
And we have another body too. Another picture of a body shot there.
Yeah, that shoulder. Okay, in that shoulder incident, I had a dream I was bitten by a spider, and when I woke up and looked in the mirror on the spot where I was bitten by a spider in my dream, I had this little slice in my shoulder. And I would get this bee sting feeling, like a bee was stinging me there, and then I would get a jolt of electricity down my arm, like a discharge down out my fingers, and it would just randomly happen here and there. And I never did a regression to that, but later I was at a party and I met this guy who was introduced to me as someone who could clear mind control victims of their programming. And so I was talking to him about this thing I found in my tooth that my dentist had found that I associated with a military abduction. And he said, well, whatever your dentist did when he repacked your tooth, because it had stopped, the pain had stopped once my dentist redid it. He said, I don't think that's active anymore. But he said, what have you got in your right shoulder? And I was like, oh, yeah. And he was able to tell that at the party.
Wow.
Like looking at me. So I did a session with him and he did his thing on me. And then he cleared me of that. I didn't have that bee sting electric sensation anymore after that.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Oh, here's a
this looks
picture of
interesting.
Sedona.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you what I see here.
Okay.
Is it to the far right
Yes.
above the cloud there on the horizon?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There's a Sedona picture I took of there was on that cliff or rock, whatever you want to call it, there was a hole with a ladder going up to it. And I was trying to catch a picture of that. But then when we got home and downloaded it, this was before smartphones when you had to download your pictures.
Yeah.
There was this UFO looking thing in the lower right hand corner in the sky, and it had a red light on the top and a black line at the bottom, and this kind of cloud like substance in the middle. So that was weird.
Very interesting. And what's the last one we got here?
The last one is the VP picture, the VP picture, or Vice picture.
Oh yeah,
we've already seen that. But I did want to bring this back because, like I said, this is a very, very beautiful picture. I think that's great. And it reminded me of Jessica Walters was her name. And she is just such a great, great actress. And she is, I mean, by far one of my favorite actresses of all time. So she is just, I love her snarkiness. And she was one of the best. And I know we lost her 2 years ago, and so that was great loss. But that's immediately who I thought of when I saw that picture.
Well, thanks. I'll look her up.
Okay, this is what I need to ask you. I want to make sure everybody knows how to find you. And I've got two websites here. I got www.CAMILLEJamesHarman.com.
Mm-hmm.
Camille James Harman, all one word.com. And I also have www.imdb.me/Camille James Harman, all one word.
Right. Well, the best way is through my website, CAMILLEJamesHarman.com. IMDb is just a website for the entertainment industry, for people to find each other in the entertainment industry. But you can email me through my website. You can also find me on Twitter and Instagram. That's on my website. My Facebook is private. So I don't, my public is Twitter and Instagram is the best.
Yeah, whatever that is, IMDb, that's where I was able to pull up the pictures from your movie, The New Mana.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one place that you can go onto there and you can find the pictures of that. So
Right.
Oh, very
And
cool.
their social media should be attached to that, hopefully.
yeah,
Or if you message me through Instagram, I can send you to their Instagram. I just don't know the name of it off the top of my head.
Very, very cool. Well, you've definitely got a new fan in me.
Oh,
Because I don't, you know what? Sharon and I, we have a couple of our favorite TV shows. We're going to try and carve out a couple of hours to go see um, The Exorcist, Believer. But we don't really get out much. We don't really go to movies and stuff. But you have a fan in me now, and I'm definitely gonna um, just. I can't not follow your career now because you're just
oh,
to
thank
me.
you.
I can tell you just have such a um, you're just a good soul, and everything that you deserve all the best that life has to offer you.
Thanks.
So
I'm trying.
uh,
I mean, it's challenging. This career choice is pretty crazy. I do want to finish my book. I do want to keep doing
you
UFO.
will, you will. You will definitely. I'm gonna add you to my. Did you freeze up on us? I think she froze up on us. Well, if I don't get her back, that's a great place for it to freeze up. I will. We've only got a couple of minutes left anyway, so I'll, we got through the whole interview.
well, I just took her off there until she comes back on. So, oh, if she comes back, okay, here she is
Oh,
again.
I don't know
So
what happened.
we'll bring her back on. I just didn't
I'm
want you
sorry,
to
guys.
have to sit there, Camille, and be in that. Whenever the camera freezes, it's never with us having that suave, debonair look. It's always like you're in the middle of trying to say something, and it looks like you're trying to suck a frog out of the air or something, and
Thank you. Thank you for
so,
saving me. I
yeah.
don't want to become a meme.
That's funny. All
All
right,
right.
Camille. Well, I just want you to know I love you. I respect you. I'm going to add you to the prayer list. Thank you so much
Yes,
for
thank
being
you.
here. I'm going to have you back because there's, like I said, let me show you the list here real quick. I didn't get to one question off
Oh.
of questions that fans and followers of yours sent me in. It happens every week. I always think, oh, this show's going to be
Mhm.
easy. I'm going to just ask the questions that these fans sent in, and I never get to them. So
Well, we'll do
shame
it.
on me. I have no clue what I'm doing. So it is what it is. Um, Please have a wonderful remainder to your Friday evening.
Thank you.
Give your husband a big hug for me for making it happen and getting you on air here. And I haven't seen the last of you yet, but God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much and have a great evening.
You too. Good night. Good
I'll see you
day.
later.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Camille James Harman. I know, guys. I'm so sorry for not getting to more of the fan uh, questions that were sent in to me for her. I'm going to look at my calendar as soon as I'm off the air here. I'm going to throw some dates at her, get her back, because there's a lot of other things that I want to talk to her about. And I just knew, got a little panicky in the very beginning, thinking, how am I going to talk to her about all these things in an hour? So it is what it is. She'll be back, I promise. But Camille James Harman, how cool is that? All righty. If there's anything you want to know about me and the church that I belong to, United States Old Catholic Church, go to usocc.org or go to bishopjameslong.com. If you're interested in night prayer, which is every weeknight, Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, or if you're interested in Bible study, which is every Wednesday and Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. Pacific, go there to those websites. The links to both of those are there. We welcome all to come and attend night prayer and Bible study. What else do I want to tell you guys? I want to thank Zach and Adrian Clayton for being my co-producers. I couldn't do this show without them. Go check out Zach's website, communitypayitforward.us. Just go there and be surprised. Next week's guest. Okay, you guys can thank me later. She's back. Took a break. She's back. This Monday, the 25th, is Happy Medium Monday. The one and only Happy Medium live from Cape Cod. Susan Ahern will be here giving free live on air psychic readings. So if you've always wanted to have a free psychic reading, Tune in live. Type your question into the chat room. Susan will read it. She'll give you your free psychic reading Monday night at 5 p.m. Pacific, right here. You can find me now on Facebook at Lawrence Morace, LAWRENCE, Morace, MORACE. My original Facebook profile got deactivated. I still don't know why or how. If I got hacked or made Facebook mad, I don't know. But you can find me now at Lawrence Morace if you were a friend of mine on Facebook and you think I just disappeared. I didn't. Thank you to Temple of Phoenix Rising Entertainment. Thank you to Things Network. Thank you to Skeleton's Key Network. Thank you to PACT, little p, capital ACT, Podcasting for All Coming Together channel, for all these networks simulcasting my show. God bless you for that. And what else? It's bad joke time. I'm going to pull a bad joke that one of you sent in out of this haunted carnival barker hat. It's my poor attempt to put a smile on everybody's face before I say goodnight. Why did Cinderella get kicked off the soccer team? Because she kept running from the ball. Good night, Danny. Good night, Jack. Good night, Dog. Good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. I love you all. God bless you all. Peace.